Here we have the ARK settling down here after the flood abated on Mount Ararat. And so something I right here because Mount Ararat, they're generally rocks like the Himalayas and so on. And how the ARK is hidden, we can't see it if it landed there. But I think the reason is that some empire, one of the empires, Egypt, which came now as Africa, Babylon, Medo Persia, Greece, Rome, somebody decided to name that mountain in Iraq, that mountain in Turkey, Ararat, and then you assume that, oh, there's where the ark landed. But you would have seen it, I'm sure, except God is doing a kind of illusion so that we don't see it as yet. And then you have the Garden of Eden, in which we are told certain rivers flowed out of it and by it, etc. And one of the rivers flowed towards Ethiopia. And also you have the Euphrates, which is close to Iraq and so on. So you position the Garden of Eden somewhere in Africa or somewhere up by Iraq. And again, coming back to this position where these empires and these people decide to call names off the bat like that, to give themselves importance, because for the river to they named that river that flowed around Iraq, the Euphrates, and then people say, oh, the Garden of Eden is around here, and then they name that place up there Ethiopia, and they say, oh, the Garden of Eden was by Africa. So it's just to confuse us. It doesn't matter where the ark was, where the Garden of Eden was. It doesn't make that place special. Oh, they would want to say now that Mother Lucy was Eve, and you see she's found it wrong in Africa there, somewhere by Ethiopia, so that, oh, this is why the garden was here. But what I'm about to tell you, gonna blow that out to the water. Now, it took 40 days and 40 nights of incessant rain, and probably not these kind of drops we have here, maybe big drops, car size, to flood the whole earth. Because you remember when God said He created earth, you had a set of water, just one place. The water was just one place on earth. All was land. And so people try to tell you that, well, you know what? The whole earth was, together, and then there was a sort of a movement of the earth, and here sank. So you have this gulf between Trinidad and the Caribbean and Venezuela and all that. It was just one land. And whereas, yes, there was one land, but nothing caused anything to sink. Originally, the water that was on the earth was maybe miles beneath, because they tell you some of these oceans are miles deep, right? I don't have the stats here, which is the deepest. But let me say the deepest is where the garden was. So, there's where, or not necessarily, because the water doesn't have to be at the valley of the earth, the lowest point. It could have been in a basin higher up or whatever. But nevertheless, it wasn't where you might want to think today, because we're living on the top of the mountains. After the water subsided a little, the land that emerged, there's where we started to live. And so, whereas the world was one country, you could walk all over the earth, now you have to face these bodies of waters around, these seas and these oceans and these lakes and these rivers and so on. You have to cross those, but they weren't there, and so you just walk all over. So the Caribbean, though they're just living at the top, a peak of various mountain or one mountain range or whatever. If you take the water a mile lower, you'll see that the whole Caribbean might be just one place. You could just walk straight around all over. And they take it lower, 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 more of the world being exposed. And so the water came up, and because Ethiopia would have been lower, okay? If we're saying that the deepest part of the ocean is where this body of water was, and water flowed from the garden, going towards Ethiopia. So Ethiopia was way under the ocean. Similarly, the Euphrates and these other rivers that they said, you know, the name around Iraq, they were lower. So maybe when the Babylonian Empire was on, they decided to call, you know, this river, we call it Euphrates because, you know, it's gonna give us the importance that the Bible, whatever, Bible spoke about this little area over here. And here's where the Garden of Eden was, and the most precious land on earth, and this is why we smartest and all that stuff. Yeah. So with the rise of the water now, um, Ethiopia would have been covered. The Euphrates would have been no more there because it was very lower. So all those rivers that flowed out to the garden were lower, and because then on the other hand, of course, they could have been living at the top of the mountain, but I don't think necessarily so. I think they were living, you know, way down, as it were. Okay. Um, so I don't know. It's not that the Bible is true. It's just that the circumstances have changed, and people have grabbed names that were powerful in the past and tried to, you know, give us a bogus talk. But oh, here's where it's at and whatever. So the Mount Ararat could have been a mountain that is submerged right now. I mean, yeah, the water that flooded the earth came from under the earth, and you know, above earth it was a thick layer of water. I mean, not necessarily flowing water, but gas, you know, liquid, the gas, uh, so that it protected us from rays from the outer space, from sun and so on, so that the direct rays weren't coming onto the earth to the extent where it's coming today. I mean, had to have some way where the light's coming on to cause photosynthesis and for the body to produce the vitamin D and so on, right? But no, 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 no. So I don't believe that this place in Turkey, the Ararat, is where the Ark is, or else we might have seen it. Except God is doing a miracle that we can't see it. And that puny body they found up in Ethiopia is not Mother Lucy because um, they were giants. Even when Noah had his third son and the world population grew, it says that there were still giants being born when those who started to have sex with other animals and started to decline in strength and in longevity and in stature or whatever, they still were giants in those days. The sons of Seth were giants. So Eve had to be a giant. So this little puny woman did cry. So I can't blame them per se. They just try to maybe Satan's trying to fool us and think that, you know, this little puny little woman out here is what God decided that He's going to replace him with and so on. No, I don't believe that. Eve was a giant and beautiful, well proportionate, and the whole nine yards.